importance for us as Black women to start planning. Part of the planning deals with confronting those things that we're avoiding, which may be the money. So if the money is the main thing keeping you at the job, then let's talk about that so we can come up with a plan. Okay.
Yeah.
So you said about money can be a trigger to our own past. Can you speak a little bit about that?
Yeah. So, like when I was saying that money is a relationship, right? And so we imagine being any kind of relationship, right? We think about romantic relationship, parent-child relationship, whatever that may be, that it triggers like these emotions and it triggers often our past stuff. Right. Mm-hmm. We all got the stuff, like as a psychologist, we're always like, it's the past stuff, right? There's always this stuff, and if a lot of us have experienced any kind of trauma, something that's traumatic around money, then that will often cause us to avoid even more. So there's different traumas that I've experienced people talk about in the past, but it could even be like you went maybe from a 2-income household at one point, maybe got a divorce, maybe a breakup or something like that. And then you went down to a 1-income household and that caused like a ton of debt and all these things that came around. And, and you maybe you weren't even the one who had to pay for most things. And so now you're like, oh my God. So now anytime you think about money, it's triggering that piece of it.
Yeah.
It could be triggering of things that you've seen in your household, right? So as you were growing up, you may have seen maybe conflict and arguments around money issues and financial issues. You may have even seen what happened when somebody mismanages their money. It could have been you. Maybe in the past, you're like, hey, I didn't know what a credit card was for. I just use it as much as they allowed me to.
Right.
You may have
experienced some retail therapy from that toxic job. So I used to buy myself a whole bunch of nice clothes and shoes. Tell myself feel better. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Retail therapy is a real thing, right? Like how do we deal with the trauma that we are experiencing in the moment, right? How do we deal with that cortisol, those stress levels going up? Hey, I need a little dopamine hit. Let me go ahead and get some retail therapy, right? To make myself feel better. Or maybe I'm overeating. That could be also a dopamine hit, that costs money. All of those things are often tied to our money or whatever vice you may have, drinking, smoking, all of those things, that definitely is tied to it. But that can start triggering those pieces of us, those emotional experiences. Oftentimes people will have issues around even when somebody passed away in the family and people are fighting over grandma and them's, house, fighting over grandma and them's estate. All of those things that it triggers these traumatic experiences that we've had around money, right? And so those are those past things and that past stuff, our own money mistakes, but even the vicarious money mistakes that we just saw in other people will often get triggered.
Yeah. So not only what we personally experienced, what we may have observed, right? Even if we weren't an adult at the time, but also what we see and hear around us about homelessness, right? Or people, and we hear all these news reports and we see many times in our area that most of the homeless people are Black. And so that makes us anxious. So can we speak a little bit more about ways that avoidance can keep us in difficult situations, such as a toxic job? So we talked about the triggers, right? We talked about the avoidance. What are some other things such as fears? What are all the things that might keep us in a toxic job?
Yeah. So the fears around money are real, right? So the fear could be oh, I'm going to be homeless, right? I can't pay my bills. That tends to be the main beginning stage, right? Is I can't pay my bills is what people are concerned about. And sometimes we don't really have a good understanding, and this is kind of going into some more of the treatment plan, but we have no good understanding of what are our bills?
Yeah.
Interesting enough, we just know that we can't pay them, but we don't know how much we need.
Right.
It's this thing.
Right. I know it's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. And I need this job in order to do it. That's all I got in my mind, right?
Yes.
And so it is important for us to say, to slow ourselves down and say, well, what are my bills? What is the bare minimum that I need is very important, right? But that's a big thing is I can't pay my bills. But second level after that foundational piece, I believe it's what about my lifestyle? Right?
Mm.
What about my lifestyle? So I love to travel. I love to go somewhere. I love to be outside. I love
Mhm.
going to any concert that's available. I love to have nice shoes and a nice purse, and that's lifestyle. So then we
Mhm.
get concerned about, like, will I be able to have that kind of lifestyle?
Ah,
You know?
yeah. Yeah.
That becomes a thing. A second piece, I mean, our third piece, I would say, is like, now if you have a mother, then you have that other level of like, wait, what about my children and their
Mhm.
lifestyle that I've now
Mhm.
have them grown accustomed to,
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
we get concerned about. And so I think these are like the levels of like money that can continue to grow and compound on itself and
Mhm.
make things a little bit scary,
Yeah.
and makes you not look at those things. And some people, what I've noticed is that once we do look at it, maybe we're actually okay and we could leave a job sooner than what we think we can, now
Mhm.
that we understand it, right?
Yeah.
And so that's why, like, my job is like, hey, let's calm down, let's slow down, let's pay attention, let's see what's going on.
Yeah.
I'm not
Like
saying I
fear
know
is usually driving the train, right? We got to
right.
slow down the train of fear, and we got
Yeah,
to get in front of the fear or walk with the fear so it's not controlling everything we're doing.
exactly. Yeah.
Mhm.
Because we
Mhm.
because we really don't know until we pay attention, like
Sure.
what we actually need, if we're close to it or not.
Mhm.
And so that's
Mhm.
what we're really looking for. But I think that those are like the fears and the avoidance that I hear the most
Mhm.
commonly around
Mhm.
the finance is like bills, lifestyle, my children, what's
Yes.
going
Yes.
to happen,
Yes.
especially those anticipated costs, like, oh,
Yeah.
my child going to college next year, my
Yeah.
child moving to high school next year. That it's like anticipating costs that you're like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it.
Yeah.
Is what's scary.
Right. That stokes those fears. So we think about like survival, like, am I going to have a place to live, place to eat? If I'm a parent, how am I going to take care of my kids? But then the
Right.
lifestyle issues too. And
Yeah.
then something too that I wanted to add to the mix, because we're in the middle of this, is the uncertainty with the political climate. So you
Uh,
and I talked about this before,
yeah.
and you asked me just straight up. You were like, well, how does the political climate impact how you see money? And I was like, well, I'm anxious. Like, it makes me like want to hold on to my money. So can you talk about ways that the political climate can
Yeah.
also affect our fears about money and moving
Yeah.
forward, right? So thinking about leaving a toxic job or pivoting because you're
Mhm.
like, I don't know who's going to be in office. I don't know that's going to mean. Can you
Yeah.
speak to that?
Yes. So this is definitely the world according to Dr. O'Shea. So other people may have different, like, opinions of this, but it's something that I like people to slow down and think about the last election. How did it actually affect you financially?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like really think about that, the reality, the facts. Because whatever you were making at your job before, you probably still made it the same day after that person got elected, even 100 days later. You had
Mm-hmm.
the same the same thing, the
Mm-hmm.
same manager that you had interpersonal issues with, or supervisor, or coworkers that got on your nerves. They all remained the same right after the election. Nothing
Uh-huh.
shifted, right? You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
all of those things are actually the same. Your finances literally pretty much stay the same. What
Mm-hmm.
we do notice is that depending on who gets elected, we may notice a couple of tax breaks, or maybe a tax increase. That's a
Mm-hmm.
big financial thing that often will affect us.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be, but it's such a bonus to your life. It's such a small portion of your life, not to the whole overall, that you're
Mm-hmm.
going to be okay.
Hmm.
Either way, from a financial perspective
Right.
around the
Right.
election. But it's okay to know that, like, life will have some changes, and we
Mm-hmm.
get to have some anxiety about the uncertainty of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
However, like, don't get too caught up into it and overthink it, because
Mm-hmm.
from the day to day of your life, you may not even notice a difference.
Hmm. I
Honestly.
want to, yeah, and I appreciate that. And I also want to speak to some of the fears that I hear from Black women, right?
Yeah.
So I hear Black women say, we're going into recession, there won't be any more jobs, there have been all these layoffs, right? So the fear
Uh-huh.
starts, right? And then that
Yeah.
keeps them kind of staying again in an environment or a job they feel is safe, but it may not really be safe. So can you
Yeah.
speak to that too?
Yeah. So that's a little different, right? Like, so there's like the political thing, and then there's like the economy,
Mm-hmm.
which can go hand in hand, but at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
the economy is a little different. And so when I think about the economy of like being, concerned about a recession and all of those things, you want to manage your money to be prepared for it, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that you don't choose to leave your job, right? Because we'll talk a little bit about like when to leave and when not to leave your job. But it's not necessarily based on your recession, right? It's not based on inflation. It's not going to be based on, that's not how you're making those choices. It's going to be more than that we want to like, to consider before leaving our job. But when we consider like the idea of like even a recession coming, that's what I say you want to prepare. And this is like when we are managing our money correctly, it reduces the anxieties of these things that are unknown. Right. So like, because I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, we go into a recession and inflation happens. Let's say those both happen at the same time, So now everything's costing more, but my money is still the same. Well, I'm a person who's like saving and preparing, at least putting a little bit to the side. You're still going to be able to make it. Right. You're actually going to be able to make it. I know it feels like you're not, but you will.
Right. So there is a degree of control, even though it feels very much like I don't know what's happening, right?
Exactly.
So be mindful of the fear and don't get wrapped up in all the fear that a lot of it is like society's kind of feeding to us, right? And I see a comment in the chat. The border issue is definitely affecting the job market, though.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And depending on what job you have, right? The border issues don't affect my job. You know what I'm saying? Like, so this depends on like what job and what industry that you're in, what is going to affect it or not. So I think that you should always have your like, ear to the streets, understand like your industry, right? Where is your industry going? There's it's something that I often use in business, but there's this book that's called Who Moved My Cheese? Okay.
What's that book about?
So ultimately the book it's about like these like two little mice and like the two little men, but overall what they're saying inside the book is that you pay attention to where your cheese is. That's where your money is. Okay. And you look and you see like, hey, is this industry changing in some type of way? How should I change to make myself more valuable, in order to make sure that my cheese isn't moved from me? That's what the concept of the book overall is, right?
Okay.
And so I think that's something that everybody should be doing always, not based on border issues, not based on recession or inflation. You always want to look at like, where's my industry going? When I think about like psychology and like I do a lot of intakes at my my W-2 job, I can also see that the world is moving into this AI world and this computer-oriented world. And I'm starting to notice like, wow, it could be possible that people may only use AI for their therapy issues. Right? Like that may be a future thing. I just start to see it. I notice it. I notice that like, hey, they might use somebody who doesn't have a degree to ask certain questions. Right? Like I can see that. And I think you should pay attention to that and say like, okay, well, how can I make myself more valuable? Why is it more important for somebody to have an in-person therapist than to have an AI therapist? So you start to look at that and you need to now identify that and be able to speak to those things. And I think that's for any industry that you're in at any given time.
And I think, okay, you raised two issues that made me think about something, right? So one is the perception that I think a lot of us have, and again, tied to the fear, is that particular job that we have is the only place where we can make money. And that's not true. Right. So thinking about, okay, so I have this current job, and I've heard a lot of people talk about this, always have exit plans in mind, right? Always have your plan A, B, C, and D on deck, because you never know what's going to happen. So that misconception that that's the only place where you can make money. The other thing is when you think about moving on and you think about all these different things, be mindful, and we've talked about this too, of not having only one stream of income, because anything can happen to your job. You can get laid off, you can decide to leave, all these different things. But if all your money is tied just to one job, then you're not in a good position. So having those multiple streams of income is so important. I know we talked about that during the financial masterclass, which we're going to be revisiting again this January. So I see another comment. What about the potential effects of AI in the tech industry on the job market?
Yeah, I mean, I think I just so happen to be speaking towards it based on psychology, and how that affects things. I believe that that's what you're supposed to always pay attention to. What's happening in the industry and how is that going to affect me? And then what kind of skill set may I need to still maybe get more knowledgeable about and increase in order for me to be ahead of the game with it, right? And having the ability to talk to to talk about my value that I bring. Like, how am I different than AI? Right? You really need to be able to figure that out. And if you can't, then that's why multiple streams of income is even more is important, because we have multiple talents. We're not just like, we're multifaceted, right? So we don't have just one thing that we're gifted in. So that's why you need to start saying, well, how do maybe this AI thing is going to take over the next year. Well, what can I do in the next year to start building me something else? That's going to be making me some extra money, right?
Yes. So being aware and don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Exactly.
Right? Exactly. Yes. And I see, yes, Latrice, yes, AI it's not. It's not, right? And I'm looking at Instagram too. So I have Instagram up, and I love this comment that somebody made on Instagram. I just want to say congratulations to you. She said she's resigning tomorrow. Took time to realize that my time has expired. I'm creating the multiple streams and finishing my clinical hours. I finally woke up and created plan A, B, C, and D. Excellent. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Yes. So if you want to see this full interview, you might want to go to YouTube. Okay. So Lifting As We Climb Consulting Wellness Services on YouTube. So I love to hear that. I love to hear Black women saying, you know what? I'm taking the control back. So we're gonna delve into the nuggets right now, Dr. Roche. So we've talked about fears. We've talked about certain barriers that might keep Black women from really coming up and close and personal with their money. So what are some important considerations that you would offer that Black women need to consider as they start creating a financial timeline?
Anytime that you're doing anything with your finances, the foundational piece is that we have to look at the numbers. I know it's the part that we don't want to do, right? We spent mostly the half of this talk about avoidance, right?
Yes.
So it's literally the part that you don't want to do, but it's going to be the most important thing to do is to look at the numbers. Okay. And when you look at the numbers, I see this more as a mindfulness activity. Okay. Mindfulness. And when we think about mindfulness, we think about not judging ourselves, right? Yeah. We're just observing and we're noticing. That's all. Okay. So I just want you to pay attention to what's going on with your money. The easiest way to go do that for people is to literally get your bank statements. Majority of us swipe. We rarely ever use cash, I feel like. So if you can just go to your credit card statements or your bank statements, whatever it is, and you can, if you want to be pretty, like we're talking about creativity and stuff, you can get multiple color highlighters if you like, right? And you can literally just start to say, hey, what are my fixed expenses? What are those expenses that never change? Let me just highlight those things, right? Once you do that, you can add it all up, which is great. You can add it up. And then once you add up the number, you can say, okay, this is the bare minimum that I'm going to need to be able to make if I want to leave this job, right? That's going to be that fixed expenses kind of thing, the expenses that come every single month. You can take another highlighter and you can look at the variable expenses, things that, you don't have to do, but you make a choice to do, or you don't have to do at that level, but you make a choice to do at that level. Example, that I see the most opportunity is usually going to be around eating out and even grocery shopping. Okay. Those are that's the most opportunity I see in that particular area. And so I tell people hey, you got to look and see how much money is going out of your household for groceries. And then how much are you dining out? And the reason why I say both, because oftentimes people will go to the grocery store, not use those groceries, go out and eat out anyway. And then groceries end up wasted.
So bad. Yeah.
So, and then it'd be oh, wait. And I mean, vegetables are expensive, right? And so when you choose not to use them and now you've let those go to waste, that is opportunity of money. That's cash flow that's going out of your household. And we look at dining out. average person that I ever look at, they often will spend $15 for lunch, even $15 for dinner. That's just for one individual person. So we're looking at $30 a day, right? So there's opportunities that are like available there, right? So that's almost $900, possibly $1,000 a month that's going on just dining out. Not your grocery bill, but just dining out.
Right.
And so there's opportunity. So I would say, like, as you're building your financial timeline, the most important thing for you to do is say, what are my numbers? I need to just know how much is the bare minimum, right? So once you know that you have, let's say your bare minimum is at least $4,000. Once you have $4,000 sitting in an account, not being touched, now you can probably catch a little bit of an attitude with your supervisor, right? Just a little bit. You know, like, because you got 1 month, right? Because if you want to say something to that person, you may have an opportunity to say something, you know, because you at least can survive 1 month, right? So that's what you kind of think about. Hey, if I can save 2 months, I got a little bit more opportunity there, right? So you kind of
let me ask you something. Let me answer, Roche. So what would you advise people ideally to save for? So if we think about the financial timeline, right? So the thought is that they may already be in therapy and working out other issues that might be holding them back from moving forward. But what would you say in terms of how would a Black woman even come up with the time frame for the financial timeline? Like, how can she determine if it's 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, a year? Like, how would she even determine that?
Yeah, so this is why I'm saying, like, we need to know the numbers, right? Because then we can decide how long would it take you to save one month. That's what I'm saying. It's like, because the goal would be at least, like, I need to at least have 1 month of my expenses sitting somewhere not being touched. That's goal number one. Number one. Okay. And so if we were to look at, so I'm just gave an example of $4,000. Let's say on a high end, you're like, oh, I could save $1,000 a month. Well, you're going to be good in 4 months. That you'll at least have that 1 month. Ideally, like it's in a easy, like, financial way.
Yeah.
Because at least you have 1 month saved. That can help you in understanding your timeline. If you are in a more mental health challenge state where you're like, oh no, I'm burning out, my hair is falling out, no, I'm getting nosebleeds, like, this is detrimental to my health, right? And I have to leave immediately, and I don't have any finances saved. That's a different situation, because now we have to ask ourselves, well, how am I going to have income next month? Right? Like, because, like, because if you decide to leave today, it's detrimental to your health. Where's the income going to come? And we've talked about this before, of, like, now you ask for a potential work leave, right? You end up seeing, like, you get a mental health leave because you need money next month. Right. But even with that, I would say for most people, it still takes time before that money comes in. So even if you're feeling like that today, I wouldn't want you to, like, leave right away. I would rather you stop working so hard. Keep going, but not
take your foot off the gas a little bit.
Take your foot off the gas, right? If the work demands say you need to do, I don't know, 40 different items, I want you to say, well, all I got inside of me is 20 in order to keep my mental health good. And I want you to go ahead and do your 20. Like I want you to do that because we need another month or two before even that mental health leave stuff start working for you. You know what I'm saying? Because I need you to save money for the possibility. Because sometimes people leave when they're just so distressed, right? But distress doesn't happen overnight.
Right.
It was time for it. So wherever you are on this continuum, like, if you're like, ooh, I just don't like this place. Ooh, this just doesn't fit good with my, like, spirit. Maybe you get a little further. Like, ooh, I don't like these coworkers. Oh my God, they getting on me. They passing me up for positions. Like, you know that there's, like,
and it starts looking like you said, like, you're overeating, or you're stressed out, you're sad, you're crying, you dread waking up. Sunday, you're having the Sunday dread. You're probably watching this right now, Sunday dread. So it's like the slow moving train.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mhm.
And you know that. So while you're on that continuum, that's when I'm saying, let's start to save. Let's start to look for a therapist. Let's look for a potential like mental health lead. How long is that going to take? Right? Like you got like you want to slowly, go through that process. Don't just be like, I didn't let this grow for 6 months to a year and now I just can't handle it. I'm leaving tomorrow. Well, that's not that, and I've seen people do it. People do it. Like, it's going to cause you more stress actually than leaving the job. That's why I say like that. I like that. Take your foot off the gas. That's all. That's what I'm saying. Just take your foot off the gas. Stay there, right?
Yeah.
But you cannot allow them to penetrate your soul. You can make a choice for that.
Yes.
You can make a choice.
So do what you can do to monitor and preserve your own mental health while also planning. So financially planning. So looking at your expenses, looking at the things that maybe you can cut out, right? Those variable expenses, but start making that plan and realize what is the amount of money that you need to bring in at least every month, right? So it may be 1 month, but you may recognize, I might need more than 1 month of cushion. So it's really up to I'm assuming up to the person to determine how much of a cushion they might need.
Yeah. That's why, like for those of you guys who are mothers, right? What are the anticipated costs? That's why sometimes we have to not only look at our money right now, but we're looking at we're in August right now. If you know that your child is going to start school in September, what is that anticipated cost? Right? There's more money is going to be spent than normal. Right. So you want to pay attention to those kinds of things before you're making this decision. And like, how do I start stacking that? How do I change things? Right. That's why I was saying, if you look at where your money's going right now, you can make a choice to say, okay, I don't have to eat out 7 days a week. I can move that down to 3. It doesn't mean that you don't eat out ever. Right. I'm not saying like cut it out completely, because sometimes people will look at it and be like, oh my God, I'm never going to eat out.
That's extreme. You're usually not going to meet it.
Don't do that to yourself. You work hard for your money. Do something nice for yourself sometimes. But you want to cut back, right? We call about harm reduction, right? Like, it's this harm reduction. Can we go down to 3 days a week or 4 days a week instead? Because that's going to increase your cash flow. If you are a retail therapist, I'm admittedly an Amazon addicted person. I feel like I don't know what's going on with me at Amazon, but something about seeing that box come up, like, what? I don't even remember what it was. It feels like Christmas every day. But even with that, like, you kind of look and say, okay, how much am I putting on Amazon or buying Amazon? Am I buying things that are needed, or am I just buying a lot of my wants? Can I cut that back? Right? So that's all we're doing, is looking at like opportunities for money, because money's around. Sometimes it's not that you need more money. We just need to redirect the money that we already have. And
stop all the money going out, right? Decrease the money going out, right? Like, how much has to go out, but then can we control the amount the sum goes out, right? Now, something you talk about too, like, some people call this an emergency fund. You call it an abundance fund. Can you talk about the abundance fund? Why do you call it that and not emergency fund? And what does this look like for Black women who are trying to prepare to leave a toxic job?
Yes. So the industry calls it an emergency fund, right? I call it an abundance fund because I don't want to manifest an emergency in my life. Right? I want to live out of abundance, right? And when we hear abundance, we mean overflow, more than enough, right? I have options, I have flexibility. That's what it is when I'm living in abundance, right? And so that's what we're looking for when we're deciding to make a choice to leave our job. We're living in abundance. I'm in an overflow state. Okay. And so as you guys are choosing to save, you want to save in a high yield savings account. That's the kind of savings account. But that's going to be your abundance fund, right? And now you get to make a decision, because sometimes we struggle with saving because our savings doesn't have a goal. Okay. But if you decide to say, my goal is to leave this job, that means every time you decide, I'm going to eat Jack in the Box today, right? like whatever it is, or I'm going to shop on Amazon.
Right.
I am making myself stay at this job that much longer.
Oh, now that's a good deterrent.
You see,
that is a good deterrent. So is this whatever I'm getting on Amazon worth me staying at this job longer? Ooh,
Yes.
I like that. Yeah.
Because now my savings has a goal. My abundance fund has a goal. If I'm choosing to do this, it's less is going to go into my abundance fund. Less going into my abundance fund means less is going to go. That means more time I have to stay at this job.
Yes. Right? Woo. I see a question. Hey, Mara. Mira, let's see. Is it best to put money in the bank to save in an interest-bearing account? What about CDs? And then can you also talk about the high yield savings account as well?
Yes. Okay. So I love this question. Great question. Okay. I already said it, but let me kind of break it down though.
Okay.
So most people save in like a regular bank normally, and a regular bank, and just not to put names out there, but y'all know what y'all banks are. Regular bank normally gives 0.002% of interest, right? That's less than a penny, right? Less than a penny. Now you go into credit unions because people say, oh, get a credit union. A credit union is really good. So a credit union tends to give maybe like 0.5%, which is like making like 50 cents on your money, right? That's better than less than a penny, right? But a high yield savings account, currently they're giving 4 to 5% of interest. That's like making $4 to $5 on your money, right? So if we just look at it like that, less than a penny, 50 cents or $4 to $5. Which one we prefer? We prefer to add a $4 to $5. Now, when we look at the concept of a CD, right, which is which somebody mentioned, or Mira mentioned, I feel like I'm saying Mira. I feel like I'm supposed to put a little R on it anyway. But when you think about a CD is locking up your money in order to get good interest. So normally in a CD, you'll lock it up for 6 months, a year, some even 5 years. The longer you lock it up, the higher your interest is on the account. So normally you'll get 4 to 5% if you leave it in there longer, right? Now, what you want to think about for yourself with the high yield savings is that you don't have to lock your money up. There's no penalty in getting your money. So if you need your money, you can get it at any given time.
Got it. So there's a penalty for CDs because it's locked up, right? And if you try to get it, then you get dinged.
Yes, exactly. But with a high yield savings account, you don't get dinged. Majority of them will take maybe, I say anywhere between like 2 days to 3 days before you can get your money.
Okay.
No penalty or anything, but a lot of times they will give a little bit of a delay. But I love the delay, and I love it for you, and I love it for me. But what it does is help us from our biggest enemy, which is us. So a lot of times you can think about your life. You ever have money in your savings and nothing in your checking? Right? If you wanted that purse, them shoes at that very moment, what did you do? You
transferred over.
Right? Yes. Very quickly. It was too quick. That's why we need them a couple of days to be like, did I really even need to make this decision? So that's what I also like about the high yield savings is that it does take 2 to 3 days before you can get the money, which will help you make a better decision, right? Like, do I need this or not?
Like pause. Let's reflect on this. Yes.
Exactly. Yes.
And I see Mira said, go on and call her the name that you were gonna call her. She likes the way you said
Mira.
It. Yes. Okay. She said she loves it. Does a high yield savings have a required deposit?
No, it's like a regular bank account, regular savings account. So maybe it starts with $25, $100 at the minimum.
Okay.
Yeah. So just a regular amount.
Do you have any suggestions about where, not that you're saying you have to get this, right? But any suggestions about where Black women can look for good high yield savings accounts?
Yes. So easiest way, well, not the easiest, a way to do it is to just Google best high yield savings of 2024. And what's going to happen is a lot of different banks are going to come up. The problem with that is that you can get overwhelmed, right? If you already are a money avoider, you're gonna be like, it's too many banks. And you're gonna be like, I don't know the name of this bank. Do I want to put my money in this bank? All of them are like, FDIC insured and different things like that. They're real.
They all are, you said?
They are, yeah.
The ones that show up,
the ones that normally show up are all FDIC insured banks. They're good, but they may not have as much name recognition. And that's what happens for us when we think about money. We're like, wait, I don't know the name, You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So I get a little nervous about like my money going there. So
Right.
what you want to think about, I'm gonna give you a couple of that, some names. I'll just give you some name recognition.
Mm-hmm.
Capital One 360. That's a name most people recognize that and has seen that before. That is my personal high yield savings account is there. They're giving somewhere like 4.3, 4.4% of interest. Another account that's called Synchrony, which is
How do you spell that?
SYN, yeah,
SYN.
SYNCHRONY,
Mm-hmm.
Synchrony.
Mm-hmm.
They're giving a lot higher. So they're at like 4.75% at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a really, really good one. And some people were aware of it. Some people have Synchrony credit cards, Synchrony
Mm-hmm.
Bank.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's another one called Marcus, just like the name Marcus, MARCUS.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's another one called SoFi, SOFI. Some people who have like student loans may have seen SoFi come around trying to get you a loan or something like that, or different things. So SoFi right now is giving like 5% of interest. So they're at the higher level, and also American Express. So a lot of us know American Express as well, right? So that's those are some just names to help you guys, because at least heard of them before, and that might
Mm-hmm.
make you
I
feel a
put
little
that on
more
the screen
comfortable.
too.
There you go. Okay, yeah, and it make you
Okay.
more comfortable to just go ahead and get started. Another thing, procrastination is real. Okay. I experience it in my life, and I'm sure you all do too. Let me just tell you this. Sometimes procrastination happens because we think it's going to take too long, or it's going to be kind of too difficult. When I tell you that this high yield savings is so easy to get, it takes you about 5 to 10 minutes to go ahead and create. You can watch TV. It can be done during the commercial. Okay. So let me tell you, you guys can make the commitment to go ahead and do it tonight, because it literally does not take any kind of time in order to do it. So just go ahead and open it up. I just one quick little testimony from a young man who was watching me. I was speaking at a family reunion, and there was all ages there, went from like age 6 to about 80 something years old, because it was a family reunion. But there was a young man who was there who was 14 years old, 14. And by the end of my talk, he had already opened up his high yield savings.
Wow.
And I thought he was playing a video game. You could not tell me that boy was paying attention to me. Nothing about what he seemed to do, but he had his phone out, but he was taking notes. He was 14.
Wow.
Like, and ended up getting that high yield savings. So just know it should not take you no time if the 14-year-old baby was able to do it.
Yes. So I want to say something too, like when you talked about tonight. So when we think about being in a difficult situation, particularly a toxic job, because I remember it like it was yesterday, it was like 2-3 years ago. Yeah. It's the feeling of being stuck, right? And so when you have like an actionable step that you can take towards getting out, then it makes you start feeling like, oh, I can do this. So I want to encourage Black women, as you're watching this, if you're interested in getting a high yield savings account, look into these different options for you, because it's that one small step that you feel like you're moving forward. Like watching my videos might be one small step, but when you put all the steps together, you're making forward movement. So keep that in mind, please. Okay. So, Dr. Roche, I just want to share it with the audience. I know I've shared it with the audience before, but I started working with Dr. Roche when I was on a leave of absence from the most toxic job I've ever had. And I started working with her because I knew that I did not want to go back to that toxic job. I knew, right? So when I was on the leave, I started doing my exit planning, started working with Dr. TK to get my business plan together, started working with Dr. Roche to get my financial plan together. And so that was my way to kind of exit. Now, it wasn't an easy journey for me because I had money hangups. I had money trauma. I was avoiding about money. Dr. Roche, one of the first things she asked me was, what is your walkaway number, right? So what amount of money do you need to make on a monthly basis to walk away? And what are all your expenses? And I did not know at all. I didn't know. And I was so filled with terror, the thought that I had to go do this. But once I did it, then I felt like, okay, now we have a plan. And it was actually Dr. Roche, and I'm always so grateful to you because you helped me get the financial plan but you also, like, I think I consulted with you either right before I was about to resign or right after. And I think it was before. And you said, you're going to be okay financially. In fact, you're going to be more than okay. And in fact, if you stay at that job, you're going to be losing money because you're making a lot more money away from the job. And so I needed to hear that from you. And I think Black women, this is such foreign territory for many of us that sometimes we need to hear from somebody who is experienced, looking, can walk us through the process and can say, you're going to be okay. Just as long as you have your plan together and you're implementing the plan, you're going to be okay. So speaking of plans, Dr. Roche, can you speak a little bit more about the Financial Masterclass coming up 2025, January 8th and 9th? So you gave us some golden nuggets, right, about the financial timeline, which was really very important. So Black women, I hope that you're able to get the takeaways from what we've talked about. Can you share with us, how is the Financial Masterclass going to be different in terms of the information that you're going to share in the Financial Masterclass? Again, January 8th and 9th. Registration information is, the waiting list link is right there on the screen. It's also be in the description section. So can you share that with us, please?
Yes. So, for one, it's completely different, right? We've only been on here for 45 minutes or so. When it comes down to the masterclass, there's 2 days, right? Not full days, but 2 days. And it's an hour and a half each day with 2 psychologists, right? Not one, but 2 of us, right? So Dr. Kimani and me will also be there. And we're going to talk about different areas. So we're going to talk about, of course, go a deeper dive into the fears that are coming up for you, not just around just finances, but just fears overall that are coming up around leaving the job. We talk about those things. We end up talking, I go further into, understanding your exit plan. For those of you guys who want to leave immediately, what's the plan for that? For those who got 3 months, 6 months. So we kind of figure out how does the timeline differ based on how long you have. Also, we get opportunity to I talk about taxes, 401ks, like what do you do with your retirement? Because that becomes a thing. So it could be, what do I do with my retirement? How do I continue to create one as I'm gone? So we'll talk about that. We talk about insurance, so what do I do about health insurance? What do I do about life insurance? So we talk about those pieces. I feel like it's so many things that come up, but we really answer all of the questions that are the hangups usually for most of us when it comes down to moving forward. And we've done this masterclass twice before. They were well attended, great testimonies of great things that have happened for those time. We're choosing to do January because we want you to get your life right at the beginning of the year. You know what I mean? So we want to do it live for 2025. I just made that up. Right?
I love it. Yes. Live. Yes.
Live. But we want to go ahead and, do something amazing for you guys as you start off your year. And so that's why we are starting right now. We're of course going to be giving you guys information. Everything is useful, right? I'm sure that you guys got something from this, YouTube right now, but we even have a whole workbook that comes along with the masterclass. So you will have something physical and tangible that you can be walking away with all the right type of notes and the steps of what you guys should do in order to leave.
Yeah. So once you leave the masterclass, right? So you may be coming in just like I was, avoidance, not knowing information, kind of stuck. You will be leaving with your financial exit plan. So you will know what that amount of money is you need to replace your income. You'll learn about options to replace your income. You will learn about what to do about your health insurance, your life insurance, what to do about your retirement, like the big things that might keep you at the job. You will have all the information once you leave the masterclass, and you're in a community with other Black women. So the masterclass is for Black women. And it was so powerful to see Black women supporting one another. Like they were pumping each other up and supporting one another. And so knowing that you have that support. Now, we also had security consideration in mind, right? Because sometimes Black women don't want other people to know that they're leaving a job. Okay, that's real. So there's an option if you don't want people to know you're leaving the job, that you can change your name on the platform so nobody will know it's you. So you can still share out, but you don't have to say anything. You don't have to give your full name, and you won't be seen on camera. So the only people on camera are me and Dr. Roché. So you don't have to worry about that. So again, you will have a financial exit plan. So Dr. Roché, what would you say to a Black woman who might be watching this right now? And she may resonate with a lot of what we said. She's like, oh, that is me. That's me. But she's saying some version of, and I'm going to add a different one in too. She's saying something like, I can't leave this job. I hate it. I can't leave though because I have bills, right?
Mm-hmm.
I got it. I'm a single parent, or I just got bills. I can't leave, right?
Mm-hmm.
She might be saying that, and or she may be saying, I'm going to try to stick it out in this job until my child graduates because I need to make sure that I have income coming in. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So what would you say to Black women who say anything like that?
Yeah. So it is true that you have bills. I will validate your concerns because I believe that is true, right? Your child is going to, graduate one day. These are things that are very true. However, there's something else on the other side of all of these fears, right? And we need to find out what's on the other side. And what I often, get excited about, especially when, talking with Dr. Kimani, is that she is the model, the example of that. And I'm sure many, many women on her channel that she has interviewed are examples of how it's greater on the other side.
Oh my God.
Of all of these things,
girl,
right?
You gonna have me do a whole testimony. You got me jump up and run around. Oh my God. Yes.
Yeah. But I mean, but it's so greater. And that's why, check back her other YouTubes where she's, interviewing other women who have left their toxic jobs and what it's like, right? What is it like to have peace, right? Your mind be at ease. You know what I mean? Like, what was
it like to not wake up in dread? What is it like to not fear and have this feeling of dread on a Sunday? What is that like?
Yeah. What if there's all these like locked up gifts that are inside of you that they get unlocked, right? You know what I mean? Like and now, and guess what happens? And this is big because I just spoke this to Dr. Kimani, but when you decide to get liberated, how do you give other people permission to get liberated as well?
True.
Right? Like the level of impact that I've seen personally Dr. Kimani give because she left her job. I knew her before she left her job.
Yes,
she got a whole YouTube channel, you know what I mean? Now, dedicated with 5,000-6,000 people who are paying attention, right? A job liberation summit that was successful and amazing and had all these Black women learn information that they needed in order to leave the job. All the ones that are here right now. I know all of you guys who are motivated, excited, who are going to meet us in the masterclass, looking out that kind of impact that you're able to make just because you choose to leave.
Yeah.
Now there's other people that can be liberated just because you have now become a model and an example of what it looks like to do so.
Yeah. And I just want to just highlight too that, even if you have the fear, right? So I just want to validate that having the fear is normal. So don't feel like I have the fear, so I cannot leave. No, the fear is going to be there because it's a major life change, right? But the thought is, and the understanding is, that job is not the only place where you can make money. And so when you think about you have bills, yes, we all have bills. So what are the ways that you can start planning for your exit? Okay. So yes, you can leave the job and you can still do well with paying things and replace your income. You can do all those things, but you might need some support. Okay. So the financial masterclass is one way that you might get that support. The other thing I want to say too, and I just want to give a brief testimonial. So I talked to Dr. Roché last week, and I was sharing with her that I was doing a training. So one of my streams of income is that I do trauma trainings. And so I get flown out. It's wonderful, right? So I was doing this training, and one of the women in the training that I had to fly to, she used to work at my former job, right? but she wasn't there when I was there or something like that. So she was only there for a brief amount of time. She did not look like us. And her experience was very different. It was nothing like my experience. And so she was talking about how much she loved the job. I didn't say anything, right? I just said, I'm no longer there. And I didn't go into why I wasn't there. But I was telling Dr. Roche that I had a brief moment where I was thinking, dang, I wish I never worked at that job. I wish that never happened to me. And Dr. Roche was like, I hear you. And look what has happened as a result of you being at that toxic job. And I said, you know what? I actually, in some kind of way, not directly, I want to kind of say, okay, workplace bully, look at what you did, right? So workplace bully woke up a sleeping lion, woke me up. I started this YouTube channel, and look at how many Black women I've liberated because of this insecure workplace bully. And so sometimes it's important to kind of have a different perspective, because maybe you're not meant to stay at that job. Maybe this is not the life that's meant for you, right?
Yeah.
So that you are able to pivot, but know in the pivot that we are here to support you. I'm here to support you. I hope you can see me. I am a person who is the most private person in the world. Got a YouTube channel. What? Yes, me. Got a YouTube channel, okay? And I've met so many Black women, and so many Black women are reaching out to me and telling me thank you. And I want to say thank you to all of you who have reached out to me, because that gives me the motivation to keep talking. Because when I was at that toxic job, they did so many things to me. One of the things they did to me was they tried to humiliate me, and they tried to silence me. So for me, I refuse to be silenced. So that's why I created the YouTube channel. And so for you, what are some lessons that you're learning from this? Maybe God is pivoting you into a different direction. I want to give a shout out to my therapist. And she's in the chat. I want to give a shout out to her, because she said, God was doing this to me. It was a rescue mission to get me out of that toxic job, because I did not belong there. There was something bigger for me, and I couldn't see it, but other people could. Dr. Roche, my friends, my family. So I couldn't see it, right? I couldn't see it. But now I see I'm walking in my purpose. I wasn't walking in my purpose there. I was bored. My soul was being drained, the whole thing. So think about that if that's the case for you too.
And I just wanted to piggyback on that. You know, the interesting thing is that God whispers to y'all all the time, right? He's whispering. He's telling you like, hey, there's something more. There's something I'm supposed to be doing. He's whispering all the time. But sometimes he got to get all in your face, right? And have to tell you it's time to exit. He got to put
knock you on your butt.
Okay, baby showgirls to be like, exit here. You need to see me. Like, you know, and that's how it happens. Workplace bullies are the ones that put you in that position to say you must leave, right? You know what I mean? Like, that's what's starting to happen. Like, you didn't hear my whisper. I told you that there was something more out there for you, but you didn't hear the whisper. So God had to go stronger, like, in order to tell you that it was time, you know? So look at that in that way.
Listen to what God is saying to you. Pay attention to that. And please don't lie to yourself. I was lying to myself so much. I was saying, oh, you know what? It's not that bad. At least I'm getting a paycheck. Right? Or I would say, try to hype myself up as I was going to the job. Oh, it's not that bad. And then I'd walk in the door and I'd be like, it is that bad. So please don't lie to yourself. Please don't lie to yourself. Okay. We're trying to help shortcut the process for you by giving you resources. So Dr. Roche, in addition to the financial masterclass that we just talked about, ways you can support Black women. So again, Black women, information is going across the screen. It's also going to be in the description section, in the waiting list. Can you also share about other services that you offer, as well as your YouTube channel? And we're streaming live on her YouTube channel too. So can you share about all that you do to support other Black women?
Definitely. So I'm super excited that I am, you know, utilizing my YouTube channel. So y'all go out there and subscribe and everything. I'm going to put up a video actually later on this evening. So I'm really proud of myself. Let me pat myself on the back.
And let's give Stephanie Perry a shout out too, right?
Yes.
Both of us,
Stephanie Perry for giving me
our YouTube channel because of Stephanie Perry, right?
Yes.
So Stephanie Perry's YouTube channel. So if you're a Black woman and you want to create a YouTube channel, please sign up for Stephanie Perry's YouTube challenge. Okay.
I totally endorse it and agree. I mean, seeing what it did with Dr. Kamani made me do it. It gave me confidence to say, "Oh, I can do this as well." So
Yes.
definitely shout out to Stephanie Perry. But I forgot. Oh, what else? What do I do?
Yes.
So I'm overall a financial psychologist. And so if, for those of you guys who want to have like a VIP session for your liberation plan, we can talk about that. So we can do like, I usually do like 60 to 90-minute like sessions with women to figure out what their goals are and help you guys do the looking at your numbers, the part that you are afraid of and scared of. So I can do VIP sessions around that. But additionally, I am a life insurance agent as well, a licensed life insurance agent. So I teach people around life insurance and how do you leverage that to be the retirement that you may be leaving, right? Maybe the supplemental retirement, even if you guys are staying at your job, but you do need to have life insurance. You can help let your money multiply and grow. And so I just did that video on my YouTube, but very important for you guys to get the life insurance going. I do a lot of speaking. So, other groups that you have that, even family reunions, right? I actually got flued out, right? So they flew me out in order to get, to talk to a family, so, I mean, think about your family.
That's brilliant.
I mean, it was such an incredible experience for me.
Wow. Generational wealth. That's amazing.
Age 6 to 83 was in the room, was the age range. And so very incredible. Even the 6-year-olds, they just helped me pass things out, but they were feeling like they were part of the process, because they were doing something, and they will always remember like, ooh, that woman was there and she was talking about money, and I feel like that starts the conversation even at their developmental age, but even organizations that need speakers to talk around finances, that's what I really love. And my passion is definitely to speak. As much as possible and to share as much impact as I can for other people.
Absolutely. And I would completely vouch for Dr. Roche. So as I said before, I work with her to get my money right to lead. If I didn't work with her, I would have been so terrified. I mean, so terrified to lead. And I want to also say that Dr. Roche is full of so much energy and laughter and joy. And so, like, even though we're talking about topics that are not fun for most of us, she likes it, right? But for most of us, it's not fun or enjoyable. We like to avoid it. She talks to you in a way that you don't feel that sense of burden and like, oh my God. And the masterclass, we are dancing at times, and we keep it light and we're laughing. So we're approaching these things in a way that's not that humdrum, depressing kind of way. Okay. So before we wind down, I want to read the community chat. So I've been doing better. I've been reading the community chat as we've been going along, but I want to give honor to our community and read comments as well. So good evening, sisters. I'm so excited for tonight's session. It's just what I need as I journey through my pivot. Yes, I'm so glad you tuned in. This is such a fantastic series, chock with helpful information. Thank you. I only wish I had it 10, 20, 30 years ago. Wow. Nevertheless, I'm grateful to experience the brilliance now as well as share it. Thank you so much. And I just want to say to everybody, as you come into this room, as you're watching this video, make sure that you share this video with at least 2 other Black women and you like this video. We talked about the border issue. We talked about AI. Hello, everyone. Let's see. A lot of hellos in the chat. Oh, let's see. How about using your 401k funds if you just need, I guess, to go for health reasons, etc.?
So I would say, that's for like that immediate, leave that you probably want to utilize your 401k funds. So with the 401k, they're not going to allow you to take 100% of it. You are able to take a loan from the 401k. Understand that it is a loan, right? And so it is something that you're technically supposed to be paying back. But it can give you an injection of money right away, of cash. What I do believe that anytime that we're doing a loan, taking a loan from ourselves or taking a loan from any kind of, bank or anything like that, is that I want you to think about what is your return of the investment. So don't just take right away. I have a plan. So still say like, okay, my goal is that I'm going to start paying this back in the next 6 months so I can get it back up again. You know, I'm going to start maybe, like I say, I was talking about the life insurance plan. I want to get my life insurance plan. I want it to grow, you know, so all of those kind of things is very important. She said if she resigns, she said if she was to resign, if you resign, you can go ahead and take all that money. Understand that 401ks have not been taxed. They have not been taxed. And so that means that whatever amount that's in there is not what you're going to see. It's going to be that minus the taxes. And if you guys are under the age of 59 and a half, not only will you get a tax, you also will get penalized for taking the money. So let's say you have $40,000, $50,000 in there. You may only, say you have 50, you may only get 30 of it. Just know.
My gosh.
So don't plan thinking that you're going to have 50.
Okay. Yeah. So don't plan on that as a plan A, right?
Yes.
That's like a true like emergency. Like you need to go now and you need some money. Okay. Thank you. Saving money is investing in your future. So true. Quiet quitting is a useful option. Well said. Dr. Roche, I have a PhD in, I guess, Amazon. I guess so. Greetings, beautiful lady. Okay, we'll talk about that. Oh, an Amazon Swiss smile. Yeah. I think a lot of us have had that PhD, okay?
Right.
High yield savings account. They like that. I love it. We talked about deposit. I have a CAP 1360.
Oh, Capital One. Probably was Capital One.
Capital One. Okay, got it. I'll be switching
to high yield savings. Yeah.
Okay, I'm excited because I have money to open one now. Good.
Do it tonight.
Yeah. If you also invest in yourself, your God self, and your higher purpose, you will be led to the right account, and knowing your true purpose will always support you abundantly. Knowing the basics helps. So well said. Absolutely. Thank you for that, Carolyn. Usually I get overwhelmed when money comes up and I change the channel. Oh, so glad I say put. Oh, that's a big one, right? So you saw it and you're like, you had the thought, but you stuck with it. So you're making that step.
Go ahead.
Approach your fear. Congratulations. I'm on FMLA leave now. I have one more week, then back at it. But this live is helping with my plan. Thank you. That's awesome. Okay, that part. Can you talk about accountants for the 1099? When I was in another state, I was provided with advice. I got here, they did not want to provide information. I know people tend to avoid working another job.
I don't know if I understand the question completely, but when I think about a 1099 job, like as an independent contractor, you know, it just means that your taxes haven't been taken out yet. So you guys want to adjust for like write-offs and different things like that. Very important for you to find a tax professional that you can go to talk about some of these things, to get some advice on that. You know, I'm not an actual tax professional. I can give you some concepts, right? But you want to talk to a tax professional about what you want to do with your 1099 in particular, right? Now, avoid working another job. It shouldn't matter. Like, so it shouldn't matter if you're a 1099 and also have a W-2. You can do both. I do both right now, so that should not be a factor. But you do want to know what your overall tax burden is going to be at the end of the year. I suggest for all people who have 1099s or small business owners, get a tax professional that you can meet with frequently. So most people meet with their tax person once it's time for taxes to happen. I do believe that you should, at least if you can, ideally, you'll be meeting with them monthly. You can meet with them every single month. I actually meet with my CPA every single month, like second Wednesdays of the month is our thing. And we check in around what money is going in, money going out, like, you know, because it's a little complicated when you have a business. And now you can start making decisions like, ooh, maybe I need a personal assistant. How do I want my money to go out versus going to taxes? So you can make decisions sooner. But if you can't do monthly and that it maybe is not cost effective, even quarterly, or just at least before the end of the year. So I would say a lot of you guys right now, like, look into a tax person now that you guys can talk to while their lives are a little bit simpler. Like, you know, a tax professional's life is not as busy right now in August and September as it is, you know, in, you know, January and February. So now they can actually give you advice for planning. So tax planning is what you're looking for.
That's good advice. And I see we have someone who will be at the Financial Masterclass. Excellent. I hope to see more of you there live for 2025. They like that. Will the class be live streamed? No. So the class is a Zoom webinar, okay? So you have to register and make your payment and all that kind of stuff. So it won't be live streamed, okay? I want us to win. We are a force and a movement. Yes, we are. I love that. And you're correct, Dr. Kimani. We must protect ourselves and our plans. Yes, I'm so motivated. I love it. I want to give you a high five. Ashe, wow, that was awesome. This was awesome. Thank you so much. Someone once said rejection can be protection. Yes, I completely agree. To move on. Yes. What's on the other side of saying yes to your pivot? So right. So we always anticipate the worst possible scenario. And I think that because as Black people, we've always had to plan for the worst, right? So we're saying, think about what the worst, but also what's the best thing that could happen too, okay? Yes, getting kicked out of a bad space makes you good. So true. Thank you for these resources. You're welcome. The channel is great. Highly recommend. Yeah, so go check out Dr. Roche's channel. What's the name of your channel?
Dr. Roche Brown, that's all.
Okay, Dr. Roche Brown. Okay, check it out. Okay. And I'll put her information again. Oh, it's already in the description section. Her channel's already in the description section. I would love to discuss life insurance and financial planning. I'll check out your page. Good. Check her out. Love her. Yes. Okay. So here's Dr. Roche's information right there. Shared it with my niece and a friend who's thinking about her retirement plan. Excellent. Yay. I love when we as Black women share information. I love that. Right? So when we support one another and we share information to uplift one another, right? Okay, so she talked about if she was resigning, she's talking about the 401k. Understood. Thank you. If I retired now, I'd get $25,000 lump sum and $1,000 a month. My rent is $1,005. So I definitely need a plan. What would you say to her?
So yeah, you do need a plan, right? Because if you're getting $1,000 a month and already rent, that's only just one bill is over $1,000, so we need to actually find extra income, to even cover like your other bills, right? Like that's not even utilities, that's in there, a car insurance. Like, so we have to get, a definite plan of like, how do I bring in more income?
Yes. So yes, I think it may be a good idea for you to join the masterclass if you're able to do so. So again, going across the screen as well in the description section about getting on the waiting list. Oh, I was about to cry, Dr. Kimani. Money stress is real for me. It's real for so many of us. So many of us. Thank you for sharing that. When you form an LLC, you have about 400 more write-offs than if you are a sole proprietor. 1099 work. It's a lot of work. Great advice. Thank you. Okay. So you get more write-offs, right? Okay.
Yeah, definitely get more write-offs. What I will say about this, just like to caution people, if you are not like making a lot of money, I don't tell people to hurry up and go out into LLCs, particularly because we're in California. I know you guys may be in different places. Having an LLC is $800 a year just to maintain it. And so if you're not making money yet, I don't tell people to go out and get an LLC right away. So I would even say if you're like under maybe like only making $20,000 something, I still wouldn't get an LLC. So just talk to a tax professional, just to be, exact, but I just don't want people to jump in and get out there. Now, if your LLC only costs you $25, $30 a year, get 1,000 LLCs. I don't care. But California, $800 is a big tax thing to not even make $800 a year. Okay.
Yeah. So important consideration. So everyone, thank you so much for watching. So again, check out Dr. Roche. Her information is on the screen, also up in the description section. If you got information out of this video, which I'm pretty sure you did, then sign up for the Financial Masterclass, which is January 8th and 9th. It's 2 days with Dr. Roche and I sharing so much information with you so you can have a financial exit plan ready so you can start planning to exit that toxic job or a job that you've outgrown. Dr. Roche, I'll give you the last word. Any last words you want to share with the audience?
I would just say join us, right? Like you have more than enough time to prepare. It's in January. If there is something that you need, fast action on, definitely, you can jump on my calendar and I will answer certain questions. But know that certain questions I'm gonna say we're gonna cover that in the masterclass. We're gonna have to wait for that, okay? But I definitely will help you guys with like some simple like life insurance and some simple like tasks. If you jump on my calendar, though.
Thank you so much. So remember, subscribe to Dr. Roche's YouTube channel. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so. Give this video a thumbs up and share this video with at least 2 other Black women. Okay. Okay. So I will see you all later. Dr. Roche, if you can stay on. Bye, everyone.